Hello and welcome to Business Weekly. I am Umar Kaltungo. Now in this edition, commodities are natural resources that have a global market, most of which fall under or into four categories of trading commodities. They include energy. Now energy comprises of crude oil, heating oil, natural gas and gasoline. Then metals, which include gold, silver, platinum and copper. We also have livestock and meat, that is lean, all sorts of livestock, cattle, chicken, and the rest of them. Then, of course, agricultural commodities, which are corn, soya beans, wheat, rice, cocoa, coffee, cotton, sugar. But most commodities have a limited geographical distribution. Only certain nations, regions, or companies have economic access to these specific resources. But virtually every region needs the resources. Hence, a large global market has developed to enable the distribution of commodities from their most economical sources to where it is needed. Commodities are fiscal assets and include metals, gold, silver, like I mentioned earlier, including soft commodities, that is sugar, wheat, corn, and the rest of them. But equity-based commodity exchange-traded funds invest in shares of commodity companies, whereas exchange-traded commodities are instruments that track the price of the commodity or a basket of commodities. Commodity prices, like the prices of everything else, depends on supply and demand. Increased demand and lower supply increases prices, and of course, vice versa. But because the supply-demand equilibrium for any commodity continually changes, so does its prices. The prices of many commodities are affected by the season, especially agricultural products. For instance, corn usually peaks at around March, April, before the growing season, and reaches a low in September and October. Now, I sat down with Ishaq Malam Yahaya, the special advisor to the president of Commodity Brokers Association of Nigeria on publicity and strategy, to discuss how the nation's commodity market can be sanitized, especially the soft commodities. Ishaq Malam Yahaya,
no.
You're welcome to this program.
Thank you very much.
Commodity Brokers Association of Nigeria. What exactly do you guys do?
Commodity Brokers Associations of Nigeria is a brokerage. We broker between the seller and the buyer. We take order on behalf of client and execute for an interest, for a simple percentage.
Okay.
That is just take example from the stock brokerage.
Yes, brokerage.
So if you take such an example and you bring it in, you will see that that is what commodity.
But your commodities, what kind of commodity do you actually broker? Is it the produce commodity like farm implements, farm produce, gold, solid minerals, or?
Okay, now if we are to go back, commodity itself is divided into two. And we have soft commodity and hard commodity. Soft commodity, these are the agricultural produce. And when we talk about hard commodity, we are talking about the mineral resources, talking about crude oil or generally oil. We talk about gold. We talk about all this. Okay. So these are hard and soft. And in the market, we have three types of market. We have the simple one, spot market, that you can just move into any market and just buy rice into any quantity, and then you pay. And then there is what is called forward market. Forward market is the one you now tell any person that is into this very business, and then you now seek for a supply, and such person would be, would deliver at a particular date. Now there is future market. That is a standardized market that is bound with some grading to say the content of water, and a very standardized in a way, like is seriously being bound, like with law behind it. You must deliver even at a loss, you must deliver. And that is what it is. For example, somebody can take the opportunity to say, okay, during the availability of these goods, before it's get to come, I will now buy it, and then the person, because of price fluctuation, he will now sell it. So at that point, there will be meeting point as soon as the times arrive. So it will be delivered at that time.
Now I know that there is the Abuja Securities and Commodity Exchange market here, where brokers deal in produce goods like maize, guinea corn, granite, and the rest of them. Is there where you people operate?
Yes. That is where we are talking about with regards to flow in terms of transaction. We, in our own wisdom, we are doing our own practicing with regards to, like what I said, the three types of market. We do spot market, we do forward market. You see, this and the future market is the one of seriously standardized, that it ought to have government backing. The Nigeria Abuja Security something, it is an old story. Okay. Currently is the Nigerian Commodity Exchange.
I see.
NCX. That is what it is. Okay. It's just, and that is where it's supposed to be the hope. I mean, it's serious money making, yes, more than the oil. And that is why we are now seeking for a legislation that we ought to be from association to Chartered Institute of Commodity Brokers of Nigeria, which is CICBN. And we had, just recently, we had a public hearing on it, and I don't think there's any opposition to that, and everybody welcomes it. A lot of people show interest to be trained, because we train small farmers and the bigger ones. It is a professional body that, by the grace of God, it will go for concurrence, and the president will put hand.
Now, I want to ask one question. This, like you said, Nigerian Commodity Exchange.
Yes.
You know, agriculture being the mainstay of northern Nigeria.
Yeah.
How can the average farmer who is in the states, say, for instance, the one that is in Birnin Yaro or the one that is in Dawanau, how can they benefit from this type of organized markets, like a hub, you've called it?
We, as professional body, we have looked at the pros and cons of a particular market, to see a bizarre market, open market, that every Dick and Harry comes in and then lie up whatever he wants to sell, and then you buy. Some of us were taking it outside, some of us were consuming, and then at the end of the day you get problems and the rest. So professional body like ours is looking at standardizing it, neating it. I mean, a discovery of the right price. We are working towards discovering the right price to particular commodity, to the producers, that will go to the producers. An average farmer in the northern or whatever part of Nigeria, he is into perpetual poverty, in the sense of when he's not getting a half of his sweat. Generally, due to the nature of survival of the fittest, somebody will go to farm for about 6-7 months. At the end of the day, he is not calculating how many times, what sweat, what input. He will sell it off in order to survive. And with this kind of our body, professional body, giving training and some enlightenment about all the going of the market, that is going to bring much more encouragement, much more information about the market for a small or big farmers to actually have it right with regards to what it ought to and the quality, the world standard. Everything is going to be so good if this very from CBAN, which is Commodity Brokers Associations of Nigeria, and we are looking towards to seeing it coming to Chartered Institute of Commodity Brokers of Nigeria, which is CICBN, and at that point it will be regulated by the Nigerian Commodity Exchange, and it will be giving birth to professionals that will work all across other exchanges, because there are some exchanges trying to come on board. The government put in some money, like somewhere around 20 billion, and Nigerian Sovereign Wealth Investment, yes, they are championing it to come and make the very floor that you're talking about workable, and then the infrastructure will be there, and there also other people like the Professor Part of Tommy is coming on board to also tripling the some of the amount that government is putting in. I think by little of our research is going to almost like triple or quadruple of it, and it's a very good something to Nigeria. And we as an institution, or we as an association, we will be giving birth to professionals that will handle this very aspects, because we will generally go to the grassroots and by sensitization and also modern marketing that we are equipped with. We have the soft and hard professionals that are needed, and the Nigerian Commodity Exchange, that is where the bunch of professionals, the technical know-how that is domiciled, and we've been tapping this for the past since 2007. I think they've been training before then, and then we eventually find ourselves and we're struggling for long. And with this very idea of the present government for diversification from oil to non-oil, I think is a very good one for people to see the light in it, to say, okay, here it is, what is going to call more than oil. Because if you calculate, no single life that will exist without feeding in a day, at least 3 times. The worst is once. Yes. And if you can calculate all these things, you now know that a lot of people, again, left their vehicles and walk with legs. And some people doesn't even use vehicle, but you must eat. Therefore, with this little analysis, you understand is an area that it ought to be given a very, very much concern. So as to.
But I want to ask, there are lots of farmers associations like Rice Farmers Association and other agricultural associations. Do you people have some kind of relationship with these associations now? Yes, the associations is
it's called FACAN, Federation of Farmers Associations of Nigeria. Is championed by trade and investment. They are there, and it's the conglomerate of all people acting, or actors of the various sections of, like the cashew, like the sesame seed, like the ginger, like like I am a spokesperson of Sogo, which is hibiscus. With them, we did election there, and I was elected as a spokesperson there. And that is just a bunch of, like, the whole heads that is controlling all those other associations. But for us, we are a professional body. We are also part of that. But as a professional body, we act professionally, because we ought to give them more encouragement to doing their job more, to improve them, to discover their price, to discover most of the problems that to avoid most of the problem that would be, problem in future. Like, for example, the post-harvest losses.
Losses.
Yes,
exactly.
And all this we are we champion it. We have professionals in that, and they have a lot to offer. And I tell you, this is the generally what we are trying to offer to Nigerians, and looking at other exchanges across the world. When you take Ethiopia and you take other countries, you will see that some of them they have selected only one commodity. Some of them coffee, some of them other distance, and it is just out of pronouncement that look, beyond one bag, beyond so tons should be sold inside exchange, in order to avoid some of the things that are happening to us currently. When you do what is called forward market to outsiders, and that is giving the impression that this thing is coming from Nigeria, and at the end of the day, it will now, at the end of the day, because of the lack of following the right way of doing things, and you find out those guys are selling something that is contaminated to the outsider, and outsider will not agree. Like what philosophers said, if you are a Nigerian and you are a good man, therefore Nigerians are good. And if you are Nigerian and you're bad, they said you are a bad man, therefore Nigerians are bad. So they will generalize our commodity to say that this very commodity, like sesame seed, is banned. So is banned. In short, the whole Nigerian good, you should be careful. This. So this is what we are trying to reduce. We are bringing it, because if you look at the whole Africa before, the only accredited laboratory in Nigeria, in the discovery, after some of our findings, we discovered 3 problems. One, the law. There was no law in terms of commodity in Nigeria, but we are beginning to have one. Then second, there was no warehouse law, but recently there's something on board coming, and President, I think they are doing something about it. And the third one is this laboratory system that I was trying to talk about. And this laboratory in Africa, we only have accredited laboratory in South Africa, in Africa. For agricultural research. And then Ghana is coming on board to be an accredited, well-known. Some of us will begin to, we will be talking about, there is NAFDAC. Yes, but you see, there are special programs and special attention that food, it ought to be given. It does not need to say drugs and food. It doesn't. You can do it, but the bunch of work, the attention, the attention that such place that it ought to be, is it an accredited one by the concerned body in the world to say this is certified, that anything from this place is this. They could do wonderful work and the rest of it. But we know there is this international policy per se, of course, that is being played. So you need to prepare yourself so that beyond a reasonable doubt, by looking at you, people declaring some of your quantity or some of your commodity to be bad, it will now look at check it again, because we know this facility and this and this, and these are the caliber of persons there. So generally, and is there posted.
If I am a farmer now, in Kaduna, for instance, and perhaps maybe I have 10 tons of maize, and I need the service of a broker so that I can get the correct price for my input. How do I go about this thing now? Is it that you have offices all around the place, or I know where you're going to. You see, what we are agitating, what we are praying, what we are trying to champion, is that some of this laboratory warehouse that is coming on board, that is being signed now, the warehouse law,
we want it generally almost everywhere. So that a farmer knows the location, he is taking those things. As soon as he harvests,
So
he will take it
for storage.
And then the people championing this thing, people handling the place, the law must have spelled everything. Okay. Then they will now store it there. And the only thing he will be giving a paper. That will serve like a check.
So that paper is what he's taking to.
He will take it. It's movable, and he can sell it anywhere. Okay, and you could also, as an actor in the market, you can stay in your house and do transaction, and sell and buy. It is a matter of where and how the mobilizations of this would happen. It's just like
so we're moving from seeing trucks carrying loads of foodstuff from the farms to carrying paper in our pockets. Fantastic arrangement, yes.
It's not like it will be neatly arranged in a way that you just harvest and then you take it. And you take it, the bulk of it, take it there, it will be treated accordingly. And you will be given a paper. And government will have a revenue in that. It's just like the stock you are selling. Who is worried about what is happening? The contract note is going to show you what is going to the government, 000 points, whatever. And the government itself doesn't realize the fact that buying and selling of all these things, it ought to be getting money from all these transactions. The coupling, is supposed to be coupled. After transacting, some of these things should be removed for government, which is revenue, and then the transaction will be shown. And even without asking ourselves, we will locate where and how we can get what at what point in time. So that saying somebody, like you said, you are having so. The information must have gone all over because we are ready to give this information. It is just that some of the legislators, after this, they got to understand where we are going. And they are even ready to be trained.
I see.
Because it is very clear that if you go all over the world, there are exchanges.
Yes.
And they are carefully doing it. Some of them are not producing these things. And they venture into gold. And you can't sell this except you can't sell this quantity except in an exchange.
Okay, last word, sir. What will you tell the average farmer that, okay, Nigerian Commodity Exchange is coming on board very soon, what will you tell the average farmer?
You see, we are technically going to average farmer in the sense of, even though I'm supposed to give you a quick answer to say average farmer should look towards seeing CBAN, to be sensitized, to give him a full loaded information about how and where this very CBAN is going, so that it will save him. And we, in our own wisdom, we are trying to have a training for the legislatures, the House of Representatives and Senates, to be trained, and also to call on other people to bring their constituency, some members from the constituency, no matter how many. And we are trying to look at 3 or 4, so that we can go down through them. We train them, and we can go to, no matter how remote. We will go there, train them, and sensitize them in their own capacity, in their own dialect. And that is what we're trying to do, because it's going to save Nigeria based on the projected population that Nigeria is going to have in the nearest future. So we are trying to cushion such effects, try to see the light, try to let people see the light, what is coming, so that we can generally even help the world, because Nigeria can feed the world.
Thank you very much. On that note, Nigeria can feed the world. Well, that's all we can take in this edition of the show. Join me next week for more. Many thanks indeed for watching. I am Omar Kaltungo.